The first thing is for sweeps. So sweeps are, I guess if you're going to define it, it's kind of like a pivoting motion or swinging motion of your legs going through. You're dragging from a pivot point, and I think that's the way I wrote it. Dragging motion from the floor past, like using a pivot point. So it could be my hip from a 6-step position. This is one that we'll be learning right here. Going out, and then going in. Same thing. It can be sweeping like this in the front. You can be doing it from the knee. You can be doing it from the knee. So all these are kind of they're pieces. So like a 1-step incorporates a sweep when you do a 1-step, right? When you do a 6-step, from here, you sweep. So that's like a sweeping motion. You're pivoting off your hip, right? Also, so most of these that I'm teaching are going to be in circular motions. It's not limited to circular motions. So if you want to drag, sweep, right? So you're sweeping off the floor. That's kind of like a line, right? It's not limited to circles, but I'll be teaching just circles today. There's kind of 3 main ones that I want to teach. First one, I guess, there's some examples. So from the hip, what I have written down, there's 1-step. So anything that pivots off the hip, leg is straight, drag. You can either drag it on the floor, have it in the air, doesn't really matter. I don't think people are going to really scrutinize what you're doing as long as the movements all connect. But 1-step, you're pivoting off the hip, right? The front side of the 6-step is from the hip, pivoting off the hip. Same thing coming from the other side. And then there's pretzel, where you're also pivoting from the hip. Right? So those are from the hips. There's pivots from the knees, which I'll demonstrate as like a dead leg. So this is what a dead leg looks like. I'll teach all these in a bit. Take your knee, put it on the ground, and you can take your shin, I guess from your foot, pivot off your knee, and you're essentially making a circular motion, sweeping the floor. You can go the other way as well. So that's a dead leg. And if you do multiple, it's the sitting version of a pretzel. So you have pretzel, where your legs come out straight, and then on a smaller scale, you're taking it to your knees and doing a bunch of dead legs. And also, off the dead leg, if you want to extend it, you can do like a Zulu spin. So a variation of a Zulu spin, instead of landing on your feet, right? You'll be turning, landing on your knee, doing a dead leg, and then doing it again. So a variation is sweep, 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 right? So that's incorporating the dead leg into a step. So for this workshop, we're only going to be learning 3 sweeps. It's going to be the pretzel, and then just half of the 1-step, and then the dead leg. So I'll teach those 3, and then should be pretty simple, and then we'll move on to transitions and concepts. So first move, we'll do 1-step, all right? So we're not going to do a full 1-step. So 1-step looks like this. You lean forward on your hands, hop, come through, right? But we're only going to be doing half of that. So get in a CC position and make sure you're sitting on your heel, right? With that leg that's straight, you can either go clockwise or you can go the other way counterclockwise. So whichever way you want to sweep. So let's go outside first. Let's pull this away from the other leg, right? So that's the first sweep. Super small motion, right? That's it. Same thing with the other leg. Going out, away. That's it. And again, these are supposed to be like, or the way I'm teaching this is supposed to be so you can practice this in a small space while we're in quarantine. So, or you can just use this wherever you are if you're not in quarantine. But doing basically half a 1-step, opening out, and this is a reverse 1-step, right? But you're only going to be doing that outward motion. Same thing can be done going in. So you just reach out, bring it back towards you. You're here, start back, bring it towards you. That's it. Bring it towards you, bring it towards you. Sweep. And as you're doing, if you want to do what I'm doing, shift to your arm, switch, and then so your opposite arm is on the ground to the leg that's you're utilizing to sweep. Alright, switch, out, pull in. Switch out, pull in. Alright, same thing with the other one. Pull out, switch, pull out. Alright, that's the main thing. So, that's going to be the first move. Really basic. You can learn this. If you just look up one step on YouTube, you'll find it. And I don't want to go over moves you can find on YouTube easily. So, next one is going to be pretzel. And that's going to be a little bit more difficult based off the one step. So, what you want to do for pretzel is get in push-up position, and you don't want your butt too high. You don't want to just make sure your body's straight, right? Like in footwork. Arms are right underneath you. What you're gonna do is with one of your legs, you're gonna swing it across from the other leg and sweep it all the way through. And if you want to keep your foot on the ground, you can. As you do this, lift up your other arm, place, and as this comes through, clear your arms till you're back. So cross, drag, clear one arm, clear the other. So if you want to leave your foot on the floor, more than okay. If you want to lift it off, perfectly okay too. So that's what it looks like. So we have here, here. And also, notice if it makes it easier, you can put your knee on the ground. As you cross, take that knee, you can put it on the ground, open out. Here, put your knee on the ground, open out. That makes it easier. Back to push-up position. In pretzel, same thing. Sweep out, put your knee on the ground. Your opposite arm, or I guess the same arm, is going to be on the ground, but you're soon going to clear it. Like this. Going out. Storm teaches pretzels differently, but that's the basic concept of pretzels. He kind of teaches it in a whole sequence, but for the sake of this workshop, we'll just be doing half. So we're doing half of one step, which is this, going out or going in. And then same thing with pretzels. Or just like we did with the half one step going out, coming back in, same concept you can apply for the pretzel. So for pretzel, you're in push-up position, you cross before going out, right? And this leg goes out, you're swinging away from you. Now let's try it, swinging, closing it. So crossing will be the last thing you do. So, and the first one we did just now, we cross first and then open out. Now let's open out on the other side and then cross. And if you want, you can put your knee down as you start. Same concept with the arms. You're gonna cross around, make that circle, arm, clear, cross, and back. Same thing with the other side. The half one step and the pretzel have two different directions. And you can choose whichever one you want to do. I feel like maybe one side and one direction is going to be more comfortable, but it's just a matter of practice and getting used to it. So this one is going out, crossing first. This one is going in, crossing last. So that's an example of the pretzel. I'm not going to drill it too much. I'd rather get into concepts. You can do this in a relatively small space. Don't need too much. Yeah, so doing this and keeping your legs straight is gonna take some time and practice, really, to get the motion down. It's not gonna come easy. And same thing with the one step, right? One step is pretty hard to learn, but if you practice it, like you might have it one way, but the other way is gonna be lacking. Same thing with pretzel. You're gonna have, like when I started, crossing first was easier for me. So like me doing this was easy, but coming around was more of a challenge. It's just a matter of practice and how you choose to incorporate it. Next one, the last one. So we learned half of the one step, which is the sweep out or the sweep back in. We learned the pretzel, which is the full sweep from a push-up position. Now is the dead leg. So, what we're gonna do, you're gonna start with, you can start with your hip on the ground, but kind of like a Nike position with your legs. Turn this down. you're gonna be in a Nike position with your legs, whichever leg you want really, doesn't matter. You can even start with your leg just sitting down like this. Actually, let's start sitting down like this with our butts on the ground. We're gonna have both our hands on the ground, shoulder width apart, and if you want, you can use your inner knuckles. I use my inner knuckles. We're gonna take one leg. Whatever leg you choose, the other arm is gonna be on the ground. So I choose this leg, this arm is gonna be on the ground. All right, as I do this, I'm gonna pin my knee to the ground. So my knee is now gonna be the pivot point. So before, it was from our hip, right? Same thing with pretzel, from our hip. Now it's gonna be from our knee. So sitting here, gonna choose this leg. My opposite arm is gonna be on the ground. The knee, pin that knee to the ground, and you're gonna shift your shin. I'm gonna pull it towards me, like this, almost like I'm doing this stretch. And once I get to this point and I can't bring it in anymore, I'm gonna push up with my hand and pick up my hips, like this. Once I'm here, this leg is gonna clear underneath until you're back in this Nike position. And then you can finish out. Your leg will lift up a bit, but that's okay. And back to this position. So that's it. All you have to do, pin the knee to the ground. You don't have to pin it down like this, but as you start sweeping it down, just make sure that knee doesn't lift off. So opposite arm from the leg that you want. Lift up, clear from the hips, and come around, back to sitting. Same with the other side, switch arms, pull in, lift up the hips, Nike, back to sitting. All right, so try it with both legs this time. So, or not both legs at the same time, but one after the other. So we're gonna take our knee, put it on the ground, lift up those hips with the opposite hand, clear, back to sitting, straight, shift over to the other side, pull that other leg in, pin the knee on the ground, lift up the hips, clear, sit, and around in a circle. So let's go. This one is pulling in. So let's do maybe like 2 sides each. So we're gonna lean 1, 2, 3, 4. So we just did, if you continue it, you're gonna keep that same motion. You can do it on the same side too. Just remember, lift up the hips every time you wanna come through. That is the dead leg, but we only learned it going inside, right? We pulled the leg towards us, and then we ended with the leg in Nike, like this. Now, let's learn it the other way. Same thing, put your opposite arm on the ground from the leg that you want. You're gonna pull it, and your leg's gonna lift up here, it's okay, until you're in Nike position. Once you're in Nike position, then you can pin this knee on the ground. Lift up those hips, and pull this leg clear under you, until you're back in this stretching position, and then come back out. Other side, switch arms, pull it back into Nike, pin that knee on the ground, lift up the hips, pull through, and back to sitting. So you can do going in like this if you want, or you can go out. And notice my hips are always off the ground when I'm doing this. But if you want to do it with your hips on the floor, perfectly okay too. We just learned 3 moves. We learned the half of the one step, which is the front sweep or the side sweeps on each side, going out and then going in. We learned the pretzels going across, around, and then going back in, right? So we learned going out. Actually, I'll do the one step. So we learned this one going out, this one going out, coming back in, coming back in. We learned pretzel going out. We learned pretzel coming back in. And then we learned dead leg going in and dead leg coming out. So that is 6 different types of sweeps, but 3 different types of sweeps, and then different directions for all of them. If you guys don't have much space, this is perfect. You can work on your sweeps, and if we do power or footwork, not foot, what am I thinking? If you do freezes, you can do any of those actually. If you do freezes with me, you can start incorporating this into your freezes, which we'll get into later. So we'll get to the next topic. So there's different types of swings. And these aren't official terms. I just use this to get the point across. So the ones I taught you so far one step, pretzel, dead leg. Those are more like traditional sweeps. You're pivoting off and moving your leg around, right? So the only thing that's moving off the pivot point is the leg. My body is staying in the same position all the time, right? So my body's staying here, my legs are doing all the work. That's the traditional type, where my legs are moving around my body. So I kind of wanted to go to the first layer of sweeps, which is the reverse, where my body is moving, but my leg is isolated. And it doesn't really look like a sweep, but you'll see what I want to get to later. So you'll incorporate a sweep, stop, and then do something else with your body. So I call it kind of like an isolation. So instead of sweeping, so let's say, like for this, if I want to do a dead leg here, right? Let's say I just did a dead leg right here, and I'm back. And now, normally a dead leg, I pin this knee to the ground, I move this shin right here, right? But what if we pin the knee to the ground and keep this and then just move our body around? So it's like not really a sweep with your body, but you're moving your body around the sweep. And then so you can continue again. So like let's say I did the sweep, I'm here, and then I can go back to the sweep. Whatever. So that's the first exercise. I don't really have like exercises for these, but I want you to play around with the idea in the notes that I have for traditional sweeps to isolated, so that we can switch between. But the idea is that you have, let's say, I don't know, and you can come up with anything, another sweep, and then halfway, I want to move my body around, and then sweep again. So that's another thing. So like I do half the sweep from pretzel, stop in front, and then instead of pulling this leg around, I pin it to the ground, and I move around, and I finish out with another sweep, which is like a dead leg. So a lot of b-boys, you know, they may not explain it like this, but it's just a way for you to think about how you want to switch it up. Because you could be doing like sweeps all day. You could be doing like this pretzel, right? All the way to the one step, and then to the dead leg. But it all kind of just blends in together. But if you want to switch up the pace, you can do like dead legs to one step, stop, come around, here, right? So another thing you can do is from here, pivot, come around, you're back, finish half the dead leg, or you can do a whole dead leg until the other leg's straight, come around, other side till it's straight, and then pick up from the side you just came up with, here, and then you get a continuous exercise, right? You get dead leg and the pretzel at the same time. So from here, do it again, I'll move my stuff. Here, you just straightened your leg, isolate that leg that you just brought out, move your body around it, do a dead leg. But as I move my body around, I'm kind of like doing a pretzel motion. Here, straighten it out, and then pin it on the ground, do a pretzel to dead leg, and you're here. So, two super simple moves, pretzel and dead leg. And all you're doing is combining them together to create a new transition. That's kind of one of the concepts. So combining traditional with isolations. You can come up with a lot of different ideas just out of these three moves, and that's why I'm only teaching three, just to prove that you can come up with whatever you want just out of three moves. And it'll start expanding as you learn new moves and get different transitions. So that's the first thing, types of sweeps. Traditional, the ones I just taught you as moves, and then isolations, different ways you can transition between those sweeps instead of just doing the sweeps over and over again, right? So just some food for thought exercise. So let's go to the first thought exercise. Let's augment these sweeps. So in breaking, there's different ways you can change up your steps. People like to hook, right, in their footwork. They like to figure four, like this, whatever, however they want to do it. They grab their legs, whatever, and they can do this in power or their freezes, whatever you want to do, right? You can figure for your freeze, you can hook it, however you want to present yourself. So the first idea is we'll take, for example, this hook right here, right? You can do this in footwork, you can do this in your freezes, you can do this in your power, whatever you want to do, right? What we're going to do, we'll start with the dead leg. So we'll take this concept and apply it to dead leg, right? So from dead leg, your objective is to pin the knee to the ground. So instead of starting with your legs out like this, straight, start with one of your legs underneath, clipped in between your knee pit, right here, like this. And what you're going to do with that leg that's on top, you're going to pin that knee to the ground, and with your foot still here, this is why I wear white socks, you're going to pivot that knee, lift up those hips off the ground, and you have a hook. Alright? So that's the first one. Here, like this, you're going to hook, pin that knee to the ground, lift up the hips, and as you finish that pull under, pin that foot to the ground that you just clipped. So you clip that foot, that same foot I'm clipping, hooks to the ground, and you can straighten the other leg, right? With the hook, that's the first one. So we're going to take dead leg and hook. So here, dead leg, hook, knee to the ground, pull under, and out. So let's say I want to go on, I want to add on to this. So I have this type of sweep, right? Actually, I'll go inside, right? And then now I want to hook it, right? But after the hook, what do? You're here and you're in this position, right? Almost in a Nike position. I can shift over and put my knee to the ground, continue. So here, put my knee to the ground, continue. Or you can pull through. So there's a lot of options here. Pull this leg out, put your knee to the ground, switch your legs. So switch the leg that's bent with the leg that's straight, and then hook it back and do the opposite side. Switch, clip, put that knee to the ground and clip. So now we're doing dead leg in different motions, right? We're adding a hook. We're adding this same footwork hook to our dead leg. Now, this doesn't have to be limited to just doing it on the floor or from the floor. If you're doing footwork, you're here, you just clipped it, and then now you can transition to the floor, right? Right, and now we did it going back. We can do the same thing coming forward. And if you want to repeat it, you can. Easy. Super easy when you have socks on. Not so easy when you have shoes on certain types of floor. Again, you're going to clip just like you would in a hook right here. You can start it from this hook, go inward, or you can go outward the other way. So the options for either direction are the same as the dead leg. We can try different sweeps, and we don't have to be limited to just pretzel, the half one step, or the dead leg. If you want, let's say you're in footwork right here, you're gonna grab and hook and pull it into a pretzel or one step, right? So I'm in 6-step position right here. I want to take my other foot, hook it behind, drag my leg until that leg that's clipped is on the floor, and then one step, transition right there, right? You're using that hook right here, hook, drag, out, right? Same thing, other side. You're here, drag, so you can start with your foot out here, drag, hook, out. So this doesn't apply to just the dead leg. You can apply this at any level, whether that's like one step, the pretzel, or your dead leg. Also guys, if you guys haven't followed me yet, please give me a follow. I need one more follow to 100 followers. Back to what I was saying. So that's with the hook. Same thing with pretzel. I don't know, I haven't tried pretzel before, but you can go here. You can also sweep it back if you want, or sweep it forward. So I do a pretzel, and then I want to kick it into a hook. You know, you can do it into different powers or a gremlin spin, or if you just want to drag your leg. I'm wearing socks, so it's super easy. But I start half a pretzel right here, sets me up for a transition. You can do that in your footwork. So just different ideas. You can get a lot of stuff out of these sweeps if you just apply these different things. So that's the first thought exercise with augmentation, with the hook, right? So you're clipping, clip, in all positions, whether it's straight leg hook or clip or bend. The next augmented sweep we can do now, instead of clipping behind, put it in front. You have a figure 4 like this, right? So let's do the first one, dead leg, and you can do either leg you want. So if you want, you can get, it's pretty much like a half lotus like this. If you guys follow my stream already, you're gonna be in a figure 4, and the reason why it's called figure 4 is you're making a 4 with your legs. So your ankle's right, clipped right on top of your knee, right above, like this. Now let's try it with dead leg. So same idea. So instead of having our legs here and bringing this one in, just clip it over, same thing. Bring that leg in, rest on your opposite arm, lift up those hips, pull, back in figure 4. Easy. So here, here, here. All right? Other way, pull it back, here. So that's figure 4. I haven't tried it with the other ones, but let's see how it goes. So let's go out. Pull it out. What if I go the other way? So now, another thing. So I just came up with something, right? So we take our pretzel and we go behind us, like this, or the one step. We can take one step, go all the way behind us to we're in figure 4, like this. One step to figure 4, right? First, step 1. One step all the way around to figure 4. Now, around the body, like we were talking about. Isolate the legs, keep this here. Instead, actually I'm gonna pin it from here, and then we can spin and touch our leg or something like that, right? So that's like a 2-step process. You do the one step into your figure 4. Again, one step to figure 4. Lock this foot on the ground. You can spin it. Different idea, right? So this is more about taking these tools, which is the 3 steps we learned, but this can be applied anywhere, and you can place them anywhere. It doesn't have to be so rigid. And let's start mixing and matching. Like, I want to do a traditional sweep, then go to a figure 4, and then isolate. Traditional sweep to figure 4, and then isolate. All right. Woo. So that's kind of it for figure 4s. Same kind of thing as the hook, but opposite side. So instead of hooking like this, we're going to figure 4. And you can bend your leg too if you want, as long as this leg is crossed over instead of under. So that's the second one, second augmentation. So sweep with the grab. So people will do freezes, you know, they're grabbing their leg, they're grabbing their foot, their knee, their head, whatever. You can do the same thing in your sweeps. So it's kind of like the same idea as like doing it like this, right? But now it's like I'm doing this, but what do I do with my hands, right? You can grab. I know Palmer does this all the time, right? He does a sweep like this, or he goes in, right? He's grabbing his leg and using more concept, and this creates more openings, right? So you can do whatever sweep you want. Try grabbing your leg, right? Sweep, hook, right? You're doing that inward one step, sweep, and then you can hook it. And now you have a thread, right? From here you can drop to shoulder. Do whatever you want, right? That's a pretty good idea. I might use that. one step, hook, sweep, place the shoulder down, pop up, right? That's one example that I just thought of. So that's an example of a grab, right? Same thing with dead leg. You're doing dead leg. I can grab this leg, the leg that I'm not using to sweep. Grab, grab, right? I can just keep holding it. Or if I want to sweep with just one leg, it's an open position. I can grab this leg right here, here. I think Wing Zero or Kazuki Rock does something like this. They'll grab their leg, sweep, sweep, and they'll go forward with it. That's one of the things. You can go here, you can sweep, sweep, sweep. All right? Different things you can do. Augmenting that sweep, taking whatever sweep, grabbing that leg, and making something different out of it. Like if I did pretzel, I grab my knee, pull out right here. I go halfway, and then I can throw it, right? Creating more options for myself to utilize these moves for creativity. So you're kind of like forcing yourself to do something different. So that is with the grab. The next thing, out of grabs, so I guess grabs is a good transition into the next thing. And this is gonna lead into what I was talking about before. So what I showed you before in this one step, you clip, and here you have a thread. That's gonna be what we're doing next. So the grab, I guess, kind of leads nicely into the threads. So something you can do before or after a grab, you can grab it, let's do a dead leg. Do a dead leg, come out, and then you can pull it out and thread. Right, same thing with the other side. Pull it through and thread. So that's already one concept out of a thread. So you can do this with anything. I showed you the one step. You can grab it. Let's grab the other. Sweep it around. Sweep it around. I just broke that thread. Sweep it around. You're taking these sweeps and using the thread concept, adding something on top of it. Same thing going out with pretzel. I don't know. You can thread back. Pretzel, thread back. Pretzel, thread back. Thread, thread, thread. So a lot of different things you can do with threading, right? I can go from here, or out here, thread it in, dead leg in or out, thread it back. Now I'm in a grab position. If I want to, I don't have to thread. I can just continue this, all right? I think threads is gonna be pretty straightforward. You can do a thread into a sweep or a sweep from a thread. Just like whatever holes you can make, you gotta go through. You know what I'm saying? We knocked out sweeps with a hook, sweeps with the figure four, sweeps with a grab, and then sweeps with a thread. So those are different ways you can change this up, right? So, yes, Conway, good point. You're not limited to doing sweeps with just your legs. The concept of sweeps pivoting off something, we're just using as an example, like pinning our knees to the ground, moving our shin, using our hips, pinning from there, dragging out. You can do the same thing with your arms, and this kind of goes a little bit more abstract, and I encourage you to work on the foundation as well of what we're learning, but also you can do the same thing with arms, right? So if I take my elbow to be my knee, and my hand to be my foot, and my forearm to be my shin, I can do the same thing. Here, pivot. It's like a sweep, right? If I'm on the floor. So I'm here, on my elbow, shoulder, grab, and then I can sweep. I can do a sweep, right? So you're combining not just sweeps with your legs, but also sweeps with your arms, right? You can do an outward sweep under you, like this, from your pivoting off your shoulder, right? You can go back in as a swim. You can be on your elbow, down to shoulder, pivoting off the elbow, and I'll show you a different angle. here, elbow, shoulder, back. Here, 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 here. Whatever you want. So that is another technique you can use. Pivoting off your elbow, your shoulder. Same concept with the sweeps, with your legs. You can apply anywhere. Most see people use their arms or their head. They'll sweep underneath with their head like this in a freeze. That's another thing too. So speaking of freezes, the next part, we are making pretty good time. It's already 8 o'clock. And this is going to be the meat of what I'm teaching, because a lot of people want to know how to incorporate these, right? So you have sweeps by themselves. You have how to change the move itself, the sweep. So you have your pretzel, or we'll use dead leg for example. You have a dead leg. You can do a figure four in your dead leg. You can do a hook in your dead leg. You can do, You can do a grab or a thread with your dead leg. But what are you going to do into and out of it, right? So you can do footwork into it, but you're already in this position, right? So it's pretty straightforward to do footwork into it. You can do it as a go down, right? If I want to put my knee down from top rock, I can use dead leg as a go down. So I'm doing top rock, use this as a go down into more sweeps, right? So you can do it from top rock, you can do it from forward, you can even just start like this into pretzel, right? From top rock. So those, pretty straightforward. I think what most people want to know is how can you incorporate freezes into your sweeps and sweeps into your freezes. And we have different types of ways to get into and from sweeps from freezes, right? So the reason why I'm teaching this first is because freeze transitions into sweeps and out of sweeps will translate into freeze or sweeps transitioning into power. So if you can do the freeze sweep, you'll start getting the power sweep. And I'll show you guys what it looks like. So most basic one, let's do a pretzel in here. And then from this position right here, you can already go into stab, baby freeze, right? Sweep, so you're in push-up position, outside pretzel, cross, around. Once you're at the halfway point, lift up the arm. That second arm you place down, you can stab it. So you come around. All right, that's a sweep into a freeze, right? It's pretty straightforward. You can do same thing with what I like to do often. You can do a dead leg into a freeze, right? Do like this into a freeze like this, right? Lots of sweeps. Same thing with one step. You can go out, or let's go in, and then you're here, and then air chair, right? Here, transition, right? You're adding another layer to this. So instead of changing the sweep itself, you're now adding another element, which is transition into and out of freezes and sweeps. So coffee grinder into baby. I'll go over it real quick, but it depends if you're going like inward or outward with your coffee grinder. But for time's sake, I'll just be going over this. And then if you want, you can follow up with the questions later on my Instagram. Hit me up in my DMs. But for you, Eric, I'll knock it out real quick. So going inward, right, from your coffee grinder, you're gonna sweep in front. Your legs closed right here. Once it gets to the front point, I put my arm down next to me, and then baby freeze. Right, so coming out, pulling in towards you, and then here. And then this leads into the next thing, right? So if we're going from the sweep, pulling in, and I lean over to my power, lean into it. This leg is going to continue sweeping. Put the knee down like you were doing a pretzel and do an inward pretzel. So if you guys are familiar with stab, this stab right here, try doing that. So guys, if you're at home and you have some space, try this out. Do a one-step sweep Sweep in, come from the side. Once you're in front, stab on the side, and then put your other hand down. You can put your head on the ground if you want. That other leg, keep sweeping around, and the leg that's on top, put that knee on the ground, and then finish off with the inward pretzel like this. So you're taking this right here, and you're just adding a freeze like this. And then you're adding an inward pretzel to finish off. So those are 3 moves. The half helicopter, the half one-step sweep, inwards, going into stab. You're gonna lean, you're here, and replace. Come around. So that's one transition. If you guys are struggling with a certain transition, let's say from sweep to freeze, really just work on that, break that one down first. You don't have to work on all of it as a whole. So your goal will be 3. It's just kind of like my stream. We work on 2 move combos with freezes, and then we move on to 3. Same thing with this. Sweep into baby first. And then you can work on baby, sweeping to inward sweep. And this is how you can finish your freezes or get into your freezes. So, again, from one step, come in, stab, continue the sweep, and you're back. So that is a sweep into freeze and a sweep out of freeze, right? So those are different transitions you can use. So now the interesting part, we did transition from sweep to freeze, back to sweep, and then we incorporate a freeze in between our sweeps. What about sweeping while freezing, right? And this is kind of like, this is like in a way augmenting our sweep, the move itself, right? So we can do this with any freeze, right? Let's say I'm in a stab right here and I want a dead leg. Maybe it's hard to dead leg with this leg. Put the other leg on the ground and dead leg. And now you're on the other stab, right? So now I'm doing freezes while I'm sweeping. So we can start in a stab. You can put your leg on the ground like this. And then this is essentially a chair freeze like we do in my stream for a minute. Take your leg that's on top, the outer leg. Pull it through. You can pretzel it. You can put your knee down and then go to the other side. Right? So, just an example, you can do it from freeze to freeze if you want. You can do like this elbow freeze and then hook, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily like like a formal freeze, right? So this is kind of like a finesse kind of thing. So there's difficulty, like stab to stab, like we do our stab switches. But now we have another element we can add for sweeps. We have assisted stab, right? Put our knee down and sweep. And we can stab with the other arm. Or what you can do, take your other leg, bring it across, and shoulder freeze, right? From here, we can dead leg and come up. Transitions, now I have a transition from a freeze, sweeping, using a sweep in a freeze to get into another freeze as a transition, using a freeze, sweeping during a freeze to get into footwork. So again, you can do an assisted stab or chair with your leg on the ground, put your top knee on the ground, and then do a half dead leg, pivot off that knee, switch to the opposite shoulder. So now I have, you can't really see it, I have my opposite shoulder on the ground, like this. Now, I can pivot my arm in, can't really see it. I can pivot my arm in, get on my elbow like this, pick up, and then dead leg back into footwork. So now, I'm using the sweeps to transition from freeze to freeze. Pivot off, sweep the arm, sweep the legs, do a sweep into footwork. So now you have sweeps as a transition instead of a move itself, right? And you're using it to transition. You can transition from freezes, you can transition from freezes to footwork, and vice versa. So there's a lot of different things you can do. Another level is to do this within your freeze, while doing a sweep by itself, right? Transition from freeze to freeze, as we did with stab to shoulder. And I'm not really teaching moves per se, because like you can learn a lot of these moves on YouTube, but just the concept of building concepts and ideas or transitions through these sweeps. That's the important takeaway. So even if you don't get any moves out of this, just this is like food for thought. So let's do another one. So for example, let's say I want to go stab to head freeze. I keep this foot on the ground. I can hook, I can figure four, grab, and drag this sweep across from me. And now I'm in a perfect position to do a freeze, right? So that's another transition, using a figure four. I'm using it in my freezes now. So I'm a stab, head, tap, grab, pull, another freeze, right? So, food for thought. You can apply the same sweep. All I'm doing is that same sweep we were doing before, from here to one step, what we were doing before, here, grab, like we learned in the very first 30 minutes, taking that same idea and doing it in a freeze. So you're not limited to doing these sweeps just by themselves or just changing up the sweeps. You can apply these sweeps in your freezes, in your power maybe, whatever you want. You can use them as transitions, so they're really versatile tools. And keep in mind, we've only done 3 sweeps. We've done that one step one, we did pretzel, we did dead leg. So that's gonna be another one. So now let's get into, we'll do one exercise actually. We're just gonna do a stab freeze like this. And then we're gonna push up, lift off our head into a dead leg, like this, all right? So we're in baby freeze. Put that leg on the ground, pick up, drop into a sitting Nike, and then you can dead leg, right? And this seems super simple, right? You're just doing a baby freeze into a sweep, a generic sweep. But the reason why I'm kind of encouraging you guys to try this from here is because when you're doing power moves, I can't do a windmill here because I don't have enough space. I'll try doing a halo. We'll see how that goes. You halo, catch back, and you transition out. So you can do, now these freezes set you up to transition into power. Whew. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't kick anything. So yeah, I would do a windmill if I could, but I don't have enough space. So like let's say you do a halo, catch, land, and then I can sweep, right? The reason why I stress the importance of learning freezes, like we do in my regular stream, and then also the versatility of these sweeps, right? So using these sweeps, we can use now from the freeze transitions into a sweep, we can do, it translates over into power. So when I do a power move and I want to connect it to a sweep or something else like that, or I want to go from power to footwork, you know, it's kind of messy to just go from like flare and then immediately into footwork. It doesn't really make any sense, right? So sweeps are kind of like your transition, the way to put sweeps into your power smoothly, master those freezes. Because, for example, halo, when you finish, most of the time, you're probably gonna try to catch it back in a stab, right? So you do halo, if I can do this without kicking anything, halo, catch, drop that leg, sweep, and then I can do it into another freeze. So, that's kind of the thing that helps you transition from power into anything else. You can use these sweeps. But first, before you learn power, learn it from the freezes. When you want to use power moves, it's going to be a little bit different. So, like I said, when you freeze, that's going to be your main transition before or after a power move into a sweep. After a power move into a sweep. I did a halo, I catch my stab, that's the freeze, and then I do my sweep. Transitions me out of that, right? So, power moves are all about recognizing where you're stopping and where you can maybe put something in, because sometimes you're not gonna always land in that freeze that you want, right? So let's say I do a flare and there's no like flare freeze, right? So think about how you land a flare, or how you want to land your flare, right? Let's say I'm gonna just do a really small flare and I land here, right? I'm in the perfect position to do a sweep. I'm in the perfect position to do a sweep, right? So if I do a flare to pretzel, that sets me up. So think about where you land in your power move, even if it's not complete. You can do a, for example, halo, and you don't have to catch it in your opposite stab. You can catch it, I don't know, on your elbow. I don't know how this is gonna work, but I'll catch it in my elbow here, and then sweep from my elbow, right? Picking up. So you have a lot of different options when you realize what freeze or what position you catch yourself in. So we did one step, the two half ones, going in like this, and then going out, right? And then you have your pretzels going out, and then coming in. And again, you can find these tutorials all over YouTube. Just search them up. And then dead leg. These right here. And then going in. Sorry, going in. I don't usually do the inward ones. So those three moves, you can either augment them, change that sweep, like change the sweep itself, add a hook, add a figure four, add a grab or a thread. You can use this to transition not only between sweeps, but also between freezes, right? After freezes, you can utilize this in your power, right? But you can also, basically, the crux of this is the options are endless, right? It's just a matter of where can I recognize that I'm in a certain position to do this. So let's take a freeze that I want to use. Let's do a crow right here. But from here I recognize I can sweep this leg back, do a dead leg, and have this position still here for something else, whatever I want to do, right? So sweep back, right? I have a freeze into something. That's my idea that I want to work with. So how can I get into this freeze? I can do a baby freeze, pick up. So that means anything from baby freeze. I can do a halo, a windmill into baby freeze and pick up. Or I can do a flare, catch in my crow, and then do the sweep. So this is me adding something. I'm augmenting my sweep. I can grab it. I can crow it like this, right? So my point is it's setting me up for transitions that I can use these sweeps for. Yeah, I think that's the gist of it. So we learned augmenting, isolating, traditional, threads, figure four hooks, grabs, and then freezes. Also, don't feel limited to just doing the sweeps with your, or the augmented ones just on the ground, like the one I showed you earlier. You're here, figure four. You can combine that concept with a grab, something else. So feel free to stack whatever you want. So I left those notes. Take everything in those notes and play around with different concepts. Play around with augmenting the sweep. How can I take the sweep, put it into a freeze? How can I augment the sweep and then put it into a freeze? And then how does that help me transition into power? How can I get to a certain point? I do my power move into that freeze that I want, and then transition into the sweep or whatever. How can I apply this? I think that's about it. I think I went over all the notes. All right, guys. There's a minute left before I go. Just a couple housekeeping things, like I say every time. So, tomorrow there is no stream, but we will be back Monday, 7 p.m. and every weekday, 7 p.m. Central Time, the same time we started this workshop. I will decide what day to do a workshop and what we'll be doing later on. I'll post about it. I'll let you guys know, and I'll talk about it in the stream. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me in the chat in future sessions, or reach out to me on Instagram. My handle's right there. I'll give you advice, or if you send me your footage, I can critique it. Tag me in your posts, your stories. Love to see it. Love to see the progress. I know some people tag me in their posts, their stories, and it's looking really good following the stream and all that. It doesn't have to be stretches and freezes. It can be power, footwork, top rock, your rounds. Doesn't matter. Love to see it. But guys, if you follow me already or you subscribe, thank you so much. If you want to support me even more, take this link, share it with people you know, take a picture of this or whatever, share it on social media. It really goes a long way. Let me know, feedback, whatever, anything on my Instagram. But I think that's about it. No stream tomorrow, coming back Monday. Yeah, other than that, no stream tomorrow. We'll be back Monday and throughout the week, 7 p.m. Central Time. I think that's about it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really means a lot for the first workshop, and especially throughout all these streams. So with that being said, I will see you guys on Monday. Peace.